Welcome back to Verbonden. Today we meet a guest who bridges the gap between the logic of code and the complexity of human connection. Michaël Custers is a Chief Strategy Officer at SD Worx. He began his journey in the late 90s as an information architect, learning to write code during the dot-com boom before moving into journalism and leadership. Today he helps lead a European champion in digital people solutions. If you have ever wondered why your company's strategies feels disconnected from the people in the office, this episode is for you. We are diving into the soul of the employee experience. Do you want to sharpen your skills as an enterprise architect? Welcome to Verbonden, the podcast where we combine insights from experienced professionals with real-world examples from the world of architecture. My name is Elise Luyckx, and I am your guide through the layers of enterprise architecture, making it less mythical and more concrete. What is fascinating for me is that you actually started your career as an information architect.
That's right. That was a long time ago. Actually, before that, I studied journalism. But this is late 90s, imagine the dot-com era. And at the time, you had this incredible technology vibe. The internet was still very young. And so I was really split between journalism and tech. And I learned to write code, HTML, early versions of JavaScript, and CSS, things that sound a bit old-fashioned these days, but at the time were very hip. And basically there was not a lot of work in journalism, and there was a lot of work in startups and .com, and which is how I ended up as an information architect.
Yeah, I can imagine that IT background also gives you a way of structuring and some insight in digital, especially later in your career.
It's still many of the basic principles in digital go back to that age. So a lot of the interaction, employee experience, user experience goes back to that sort of late 90s, early 2000s thinking. The technology has evolved enormously, but the first principles, the basic principles still count.
Yeah. As a chief marketing officer in your role, you've been putting employee experience at the center. Why is that a priority for you?
It really goes back to marketing and the art of differentiating yourself in a marketplace. And if you go back to the various authors who've written books on it, Michael Porter is one of them, Tracy and Wiersma is another one, but it really goes back to three basic forms of differentiation as an organization. Personally, I've always been a big fan of the book The Value or The Discipline of Market Leaders, which talks about value disciplines. It's a book somewhere in the 90s from Tracy and Wiersma, an American professor and a Dutch professor. And they investigated a number of businesses and looked at why they were performing better than other businesses. And they came to the conclusion that there's three ways to differentiate yourself as a business. The first is to lead with cost. The second is to lead with innovation, and the third is to lead with customer relationship. If you lead with costs, then you need to have a perfect operating model. Best example is IKEA. They brought it down to a science as to how many cupboards or pieces of furniture you can cram into a truck in order to reduce the number of trucks on the road, and really they made efficiency their goal. In retail, you also have a couple of examples, Lidl, Aldi, a few other brands, typically cost leadership. And why do customers go there? Because of their cost leadership. Second is innovation. There, the mission is to out-innovate yourself, to cannibalize your own innovation. So think of maybe an old example, but Canon was super successful in video recording, but they actually came up with digital recording. And so they out-innovated themselves. So basically every so often, every couple of years, you eat up your own innovation in order to replace it with something else.
Yeah.
And this is how you connect with customers, how you link customers to your brand.
Netflix did the same thing, eh?
Yes.
They used to hire DVDs via the post office.
Yeah, to compete with Blockbuster. Yeah, and they out-innovated the market. But once you play that game, you have to also keep out-innovating yourself.
Yeah.
And then the third is customer relationship, where you really make connecting with customers the core of your existence. Now, the book of Tracy and Wiersema was not just about laying those three out, because I think they were well known. They said you have to choose one value discipline and really hone in on that. And choose one. The other two are still important, but really make that one discipline where you want to excel the core of your existence.
Do you mean as an organization or as a professional?
As an organization.
Okay.
So if you want to be a cost leader, then it's about logistics, then it's about efficiency, about your supply chain, about how you organize your shop. It's really driving efficiency in every element of the business. At SD Worx, we want to be a leader in customer relationship. And so there, for almost 80 years, it's been the center of our existence. But then you have to embrace it to the maximum. You basically have to take that customer relationship and build your entire operating model around it. Are we quite there yet? I don't think so, but we keep going back to that first idea of what is the key of what is the reason of our existence? It's to serve our customers best we can, and then also build a portfolio of solutions for them. So, which is why we're present in multiple markets, to be close to our customers, which is why we're organized in segments to actually build solutions which are fit for purpose for these segments. A lot of that thinking comes from customer centricity.
Mm-hmm. And the term of employee experience, how does this relate to the customer experience for you?
Employee experience is really something that's sitting in the realm of HR and people departments, where you basically take some of this marketing thinking of customer experience and say, if you imagine that the relationship between an employer and an employee exists out of dozens of touch points between an employer and employee, and it can be the way the office looks, or what the office looks like, it can be the screen you log into to clock in and to clock out, it can be your employment handbook, but imagine that it's dozens of touch points. Employee experience is about optimizing each and every one of those touch points and make sure that they're consistent, they're frictionless, that they're as smooth as they can. That's my interpretation of employee experience and how you can optimize it and why it matters.
Yeah. Should the employee experience, because you say that it's a set of touch points, in a way. And there you have the organization that chooses a specific identity. Yeah? Organizations can be very, very difficult in that department, also in the marketing and the branding. Do you see that there's a connection, that there's a different way to look at those touch points from that point of view?
It goes back to why an organization exists and what your core focus is. If you want to be a cost leader, then you optimize for cost, and then also you will probably optimize logically your employer experience for cost. So you will look for cheaper solutions. You will probably not have a lot of options which you offer to your employees. Whereas if you're a pharmaceutical company, where you're very much focused on innovation because you work with PhDs, you really will want to take care of those PhDs and link them as strongly with you, because they're part of your literally your human capital, and then you will want to shape that employee experience as best you can. So I think it goes back to who you are as a business before you can define what your employee experience is.
Yeah.
And it's basically about making choices.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, strategy is the art of making choices.
Yeah.
What you want to be, but very importantly, what you don't want to be.
What you're not gonna do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Choosing what you do, what you don't.
Yeah. where do you see the link of those touch points and the way you have this marketing, branding that you want to bring to your employees? Where do you see this translated into technology execution?
But I think it's more than marketing and branding, employee experience. I think it's about the choices you give to employees. For instance, whether or not you offer certain mobility options to an employee can be a choice of employee experience. Whether you want to offer choices as to where people work, from home, remotely, 5 days in the office, those are choices that also make up the employee experience. When it comes to technology, I think technology can play an important role to remove friction from interaction with the employee. It can be just to put in digital tools to clock in, to clock out. It can be tools to give access to information very quickly, whether it's a chatbot or a well-made intranet, but making things just easy to consume and easy to find. But technology and employee experience can play an incredible role, and in particular in the last couple of years, we've seen a huge transformation there because the way we work together has really changed. Consider pre and post-COVID. People used to have physical meetings. These days, we all sit in front of the screen majority of our time.
Yeah. There might have been, in a way, a shift of what people want, what the employees want from the organizations or so.
Yes, people have choice. Yeah. People can choose as well, right? They choose where to work and who to work with. And as an employer, that is something you need to accommodate. We're no longer in the market with talent scarcity and with people in very specialist roles, where as an employer you can dictate what you want. You have to accommodate your employees. You have to listen to them. Dealing with that talent scarcity, also dealing with multiple generations in the workplace, dealing with different types and backgrounds of people. So it's not easy. So it's no longer one size fits all. You can have your values and your principles, but at the same time you have to work with your people to build that employee experience. And it's never done, right? Mm-hmm. It's a constantly evolving thing.
Yeah. In what way did you see technology implementations supporting the shift that happened in the workforce since, when was COVID? 2020? 2022?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we're all forgetting about it.
Yeah.
It was not a fun period. Mm. But I think remote connections, remote working tools like Teams and in the Microsoft stack, but also Google, it's become commonplace. It was not so much accepted previously. Today, this is a given in virtually every organization. So I think the way we do our work through those things, through also shared documents. So I think that whole collaboration aspect has come a long way from where we were 5-6 years ago. Driven by technology, out of necessity at some point, because we had a switch. If you remember, it's probably 6 years ago. It's got to be 2020. Around this time of year. Yeah. This time of year, 6 years ago, we were looking at the screen and companies were scrambling to get their Zoom or Teams or WebEx subscriptions sorted and roll it out to everything. And I think that collaboration will probably never go away. I think it's a basis for many new things that you see today, whether it's further collaboration tools or even AI.
Yeah. Are there any ways that the brands of you corrected me on that, it's not a brand or a vision, the employee experience must be translated into the solutions, the digital solutions? How do you see that those are connected? How do you see that it cascades into the reality?
But I think some things are simply done because of the possibility of technology. Mm-hmm. Tools are rolled out, they offer certain opportunities to collaborate, and it just comes through technology. Mm-hmm. Other things are very conscious choices of employers where they say, this is what we want to offer to our employees, and this is how we're going to do it. So some of it is, I think, informed by technology and the options. And then I think the collaboration options and the things we described a minute earlier are a good example. Other things are driven by employers who just say, this is what we want to stand for as an employer. We want to give our employees 7 different transportation options. So in our case, you can choose between a company car, subscription to public transportation, whatever option you can think of. So we want our people to have choice. Other employers can say, no, this is our policy and we stick to it. So it's basically the place where HR policy and technology meet, opportunity meet each other.
Yeah. A powerful takeaway from Michaël today: you can't build a great culture on a broken foundation. Technology must be the tool that masters complexity so that we can remain human. But what happens when two organizations with different foundations come together? Stay tuned for part 2, where we discuss the playbook for mergers and how architects can navigate the chaos of acquisition. Don't forget to subscribe and follow Verbonden on your favorite platform. Many thanks to Pieter-Jan Rombout for producing and editing, and to Leonard Busset for the intro music. And of course, thank you for listening, and see you next time.